Okay, folks, welcome back. And this is what we were working on yesterday, the Blacktop. Now, obviously, there's going to be more of this. If we like how this turns out, well, we figured we're going to make two of them. I don't see why this wouldn't turn out well, but you never know. So, let's strip. And we're going to start off by painting. This has already been sealed with a sanding sealer, both sides. We're going to paint both sides of this in black, and then we're going to come in and then lighten it up some. That's what we're going to work on tonight, is get this roadway. Let's see what this sidewalk looks like up against this roadway, where it's going to be. And I can't test it with another piece of sidewalk because I'm not going to do two buildings at once. We're going to finish this completely, then we'll move on to the other one. You start working too many things at once, you get nothing finished. So, or at least that method does not work for me. So, let's get something we can put this black on decor. Nah, we want to use the good stuff. We want to use the folk art one, the thick one. And I think I'm going to just splooge it right on top of it. I don't see any reason not to do that. But I want to put this on something else because we're going to make a mess, unfortunately. And let's make sure I got the right chat on here. There we go. Live chat. All right. And what else? What else are we missing? Anything? A paintbrush that we could count on. Well, that remains to be seen how it behaves. Okay. And let's get the super readers on. Instead of using 125, is that what this is? I got to use readers to see what the prescription on these things is. It's 125 or 150. It's very little. These are. Let's put the readers to see what the other one says. This was, I think, 375. 325. Yeah, I think they make stronger over the counter. But, hey, the Ben is here. Midnight. Right? Is it midnight or? You're going to do what on? Oh, I can do, strip? You guys just want to see. You just want to see Mitch's feet. That's all. I hear he's got an OnlyFans for that. God, I hope not. And just for the record, it's okay to be into feet, just not Mitch's feet. Not mine either, for that matter. But all right. But don't be one of those people that wears like sandals and they shouldn't be wearing them. You need to have like not nasty feet if you're going to wear them. If people are going to see your toes, your feet don't need to be nasty. At one time I think somebody was saying the people that run, not that I know anything about that, about running. If I'm going to run, somebody's going to freaking chase me. But runners get those toes that are all like black and blue and shit. Another reason not to run. Grody. This needs a little bit of... This stuff is super thick. There we go. That's a little bit more lubricated. Now, by rights, this should dry really fast, right? Because it's relatively thick paint. You're watching Amrite videos today. Poor Mitch had some poor rolls with his stank-ass chariots. Yeah. Well, you know, here's the thing about die rolls. I was talking about this to somebody just today. I grew up playing games with dice. And I am pro dice. Meaning anytime, there's a couple sayings I attribute to myself. And this is one of them. Maybe somebody else said it, but I certainly didn't hear him say it. And you may actually not have heard me say this. So it's not any of my classics. But anytime you get a chance to roll dice, it's a chance for greatness. And I truly mean that. If you've watched you've seen my videos. I'm not scared of rolling dice. And I don't think Mitch is either. Mitch isn't scared of rolling dice. Some other people, though, they let the dice get to them. I'm not going to bother wiping this down. We'll be okay. Stank-ass chariots. That should be enough. I keep forgetting to go by Hobby Lobby. That's our local chain hobby store that's not really a hobby store. We don't have really any true hobby stores left. For years, we haven't had a true hobby store. We haven't had a true hobby store here in town for over 20 years. And over 20 years? Yeah, over 25 years. Just to get more of this folk art craft paint, because this covers so much better than the Americana. Why are we watching old videos? Hey, I'm going to leave those videos on there. Like I said, we made mistakes, unfortunately, but we try to do them with the best of our ability at the time that we did them. And, the only thing that upsets me about DBA and DBA videos, when somebody is really into DBA and doesn't realize that we made over 200 fucking videos. Like, you obviously haven't checked on YouTube, dumbass. Like, and we did it so the fucking game wouldn't die. You pick up that freaking set of rules, that purple rule book, you're not going to pick that up and go, yeah, I want to play this. Like, it doesn't even make sense. The UK equivalent of Hooby. You're a shitty typer like me. Excellent. Would be Hobbycraft. The chain that I like in the UK, according to you guys, because I didn't know it existed, is Poundland. That sounds like a whorehouse chain. Chain of whorehouses named Poundland. Well, they have the dollar store here, or whatever, and now there's nothing in there. It's $1. It's all $1.25. Well, that kind of messes up your whole system, doesn't it? I never understood how the dollar store worked. Okay, you sell everything in there, and everything is there $1. Now, I may not be really good at math. I'm not bad at math. But I'm just saying, if the merchandise was stolen, pound stretch. Yeah, pound stretch. It's a pound stretch before you check out. After you check out, it ain't stretching no more. If all of the merchandise is stolen, you still have to pay for the. You still have to pay for the mortgage. I was about to say the lease on the building. and you got to pay somebody to work at the damn place. I just don't understand how it works. I just don't understand how it adds up that you could sell something for $1. Well, obviously they can't anymore. That's why it went to $1.25. But there's not that much of a difference. I don't know. I know somebody that claims. No, it's not Mitch. Although it could be. That it's just a front as a they're all just Chinese listening posts. It's like they just give away the stuff for free just to have a place to listen to people. Now, you don't need a listening post. You don't need a listening post in America. People willingly give away their opinions. Like, here. I'm not forgetting Pound World. Oh, there's a Pound World? Oh, the old Pond World. That's everything from you guys comes in Pond World. I was going to ask you guys something about across the pond. What is it? What else did I find out? It probably had to do with me finding out somebody else I wanted to do business with, and once again, they're in Britain. And I got nothing against you guys. It's just the shipping rates just suck. And it's not your fault either. So, one of you guys, it may have been Jeffrey, said it's basically because the U.S. Postal Service decided to raise the rates and UK had to correspond in kind. You will not find a greater adversary of the United States Postal Service than me. Anytime the U.S. Postal Service touches anything, it's a shit show. Hey, Mr. Skylab, welcome the fuck back. Where you been, man? You gotta be careful. You're over in that part of the world where you sequester people, the aliens sequester people. Or you get eaten by people that run out of food. You get done or passed. Anytime that I get something, I order it from eBay or Amazon. When they do I'm like, it shouldn't arrive here. It doesn't arrive on the correct time. It's because there was a handoff, the U.S. Postal Service, and they fumbled it every single time. And every time you order something, it doesn't arrive on time because there's always a damn holiday in every month except August that the that the Postal Service takes off. Look it up. I think I did that right. January. President's Day, right? February is Martin Luther King, or is it backwards? Something like that. March is, what the hell's March? Maybe March doesn't have one either. It's like every month has something in it. At least one thing. Been dealing with adversarial schedules and parents on assisted living. That's a good name for a TV show. Adversarial schedules and parents on assisted living. Now, I hope you're doing okay with the parents. I had one of those and that ain't fun. Adversarial schedules. Yeah, that's why I don't game on Mondays. It's an adversarial schedule. I'd be further behind if I was gaming on Mondays. I also realized something else. I've known this, but I actually put it into words with somebody. Today, and what I said was, mincing words seems like being dishonest. It just seems dishonest not speaking your mind, especially if somebody asks you. That's just easy to keep your lies straight if you just tell the truth. I was talking to somebody today, and I couldn't get a hold of them on the phone. So I decided to call their cell phone number, and they picked right up. I said, "Oh, I thought you were at work today." "Oh, no, I'm just decided to work from home." And this is somebody that's been at the office less than 6 months. And without missing a beat, I'm like, must be nice to work from home. I've worked here 30 fucking years, and I can't work from home not a single fucking day. And I'm bitter about it. I tell my wife that all the time. I have an unflexible schedule. That's so fine. That's okay. I put measures in place to protect myself. Like, I don't use my personal cell phone for business. You know, I don't want my customers calling me on my cell phone. It just gives them a crutch to freaking change your mind at the last minute because they can get a hold of you, and creating all kinds of chaos. Like, I'm not allowed to do that shit to my people. I just like to work from home one fucking day. I don't want to run around naked. I'm fine wearing shorts and a t-shirt. But a lot of places that did that, while everybody was scared, oh, the COVID, they stopped doing that because a lot of people abused it. I would kick so much ass working from home in one day, I'd make sure they wouldn't want me to go back in the office. Like, man, you get a lot of shit done while you're not here. Perfect. Why don't you just stay home? Thank you. But a lot of people probably fucked it up. Screwing around and stuff. I'd make sure to kick so much ass they wouldn't want me to go back in the office. I got all this black shit all over my hands. And no hand sanitizer. Because this stuff's about out. Okay, now we're going to have to do something else because this needs to dry. And this needs to dry pretty thoroughly. And there's stuff that I don't know if it's just me, but there's stuff that I encounter in the workplace that I don't want to have anything to do when I'm not at the workplace. Like, I don't like dealing with the shit while I'm getting paid to do it. I certainly don't want to encounter it when I'm not getting paid to do it. Like, the people that I encounter at work, I don't want to encounter them on my own time. Of course, on my own time, if I don't like something, I'll just go the other way. I'm just like, I'm not dealing with you. We were watching a show last night. The people on this show were doing community service. And they had to wear a safety vest. And I'm like, I already work in a hot environment. I ain't wearing no fucking safety vest. I'd rather get hit by a car than wear a safety vest. And yes, I mean that in jest, but if someone's going to hit you, the fucking safety vest ain't going to make that much of a difference. Of course, my biggest pet peeve, we don't have this really that happens, but you'll go watch some kind of trades magazine or something, and they'll have these people that'll be unveiling a new building, right? And you got these finance people or whatever, people that have worked in a cushy office their whole life, which, I don't have a problem with, except that, they call them in for, breaking the place open. Put on a hard hat. Like, the fuck you doing wearing a hard hat, man? First time they've picked up a fucking shovel in their life, Acting like they did all the fucking work. Oh, come on, man. I hate seeing people in hard hats that don't do a lick of work. People wearing hard hats, they don't even know what the building is made out of. Okay. Let's move these two things the heck out of here. And see if I can find something to tinker around with. Well, one thing I was thinking about doing is this, and we'll go ahead and do this experiment. And just like my experiments, I've never done them before. I don't do shit that I already know how it's going to turn out for you guys to get a thrill out of it. I do shit that I've never tried. I've thought about it. 106 degrees here in Salt Lake City, Utah. How is it there in Florida? About the same. Certainly feels like in 106. Yours is a dry heat. Yeah, well, it's still hot. It does make a difference. You know the biggest difference is you don't smell like roadkill when you come back in from sweating. That's what the dryness is big. Because I was in Mexico and it was dry heat and it was as hot as it was here, temperature-wise. But you just smell awful here. Let's see what it is right now. Of course, it's 7:17, still daylight. It is. Oh, it's a brisk day. It's only feels like 91. We're back to having rain every day, which is welcome, as long as it doesn't come with lightning. Your village has a golden shovel kept in a vault they use for photo ops and groundbreaking ceremonies. I say let's break into that place and snap it in half. It's so fake. I hate fake shit. Like somebody's going to respect you for doing fake shit. All right. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. You guys across the pond don't know what the hell I'm talking about. All right. We're going to take some of these bricks. It's a mixture of the 3 different kinds. And I'm going to put some of this Nuln Oil in there with it. We're going to darken some of them up, see what it looks like. So if this works, we're probably going to mix some colors in so we have some more color variations. I do not know how this is going to turn out. Why do I use this Nuln Oil? Damn it. We already had one open. Didn't I? Yeah. It's over here. I hate chaos. A golden shovel. It's probably not even made of gold. Your village. That's a word that's not used here in the United States. Nobody lives in a village or a hamlet. Oh, I live in this hamlet in Mississippi. Oh, if there's one state that would have hamlets, it would be Mississippi. Well, I can tell you right now, the color they turned into is better. And I'm not going to be paranoid. I'm not going to pull these in because I think that this Nuln Oil are going to stick together. If they stick together, well, that's just God's plan. That's more in line with the color of the building. It's a hell of a lot more in line than... Well, hell, I'll tell you. I'll take a picture of it. How about that? Well, I need to find a representative picture. I'm not even going to bother showing you. This looks a lot... It looks in the picture a lot darker than it really is. I think that's a lot better. It might actually be so good I'll tint them all in that color. So that's pretty light. Remember, the bricks we're just going to use as sprinkles. Hamlet is my word for a little pig. That's I've seen those videos of those cute miniature pigs, which are adorable. And it's a shame pigs weren't such good eating. God, they're delicious. I mean, I could stop eating. If I had to raise one to eat them, I'm not eating pig. They're cute. They're really, really cute. And ham's yummy, but I'm not an Assyrian, for God's sakes. And Hamlet, yeah, I had one called Hamlet. Bacon Bit. That one named Bacon Bit. And I'd say I like ham better than bacon because I almost always like ham. Bacon, if it's overcooked, I don't like it. It's like when you burn butter. You cook it too much, it just doesn't. Now what kind of shit show am I running here where I'm spilling stuff? Come on. Come on, man. Yeah, pigs are yummy, but I'm not going to. And I don't like all parts of the pig. There's some parts of the pig that taste funny. And by funny, I mean peculiar. Like, I probably shouldn't be putting this in my mouth. Well, this is dry enough. You know, I'm impatient. Look at that. Lays flattish. All right. I could just mix white with this black. But I think I've got a dark gray here to start working from. And it's called pavement. Oh, we got to use that. That'd be uncivilized not using that. So again, to understand what the project is for you guys that weren't here yesterday, we've got this building that has no floor. Okay, so we have to build a floor for it. If I'm going to build a floor, I might as well have a floor plan for it. We're going to alter these colors up a little bit so it's more differentiation. And it tells you where the windows are and everything. So you could have figures inside of here, right? But if some fighting happens, well, let's not kill the guy, Jesus. If there's some fighting and somebody runs in the door, you can do the fight. You just set this off to the side. Okay? But so at that point, might as well have a sidewalk on it. Well, if I'm going to have a sidewalk, I'm going to put a blacktop. So you're going to have a sidewalk here. There's going to be an equivalent sidewalk on this other side. And this is kind of teetering on this. But this lays completely flat on here because there is none of this spackle that is on the edges, so that the sidewalk will lay flat. It's not laying flat because of that. There we go. Now we got a flat lay and stuff, and that's how it's going to be. Obviously, it's not going to be this black. So let's bring it up. So that's the objective here. That's the stated objective. Hey, Marcus. Speaking of animals, a couple days ago we had a moose wander through the neighborhood, munching on everyone's gardens. So I saw my first moose ever when I was in Utah. We were in Park City. And we took one of those gondola ride things up there. And the reason it's so hard to see a moose is the same reason it took us so long to find a shark's tooth, like on the beach, because they're a color you don't expect them to be. Shark's teeth on the beach are like damn near this color. They're damn near black, and you're expecting something to be like gray, white. You're not going to find that. Those are ones you buy in the store that somebody else found. And moose is the same thing. Moose was super, super dark, really, really dark color. I mean, he was darker than this. He was super, super dark. And the year that we went there was, I want to say 2017, something like that. And it was it was actually warmer here in Florida. No, it was warmer there than it was in Florida. It was crazy. It was a fluke. The only reason there was any snow on the ground was because, a couple weeks before it had snowed a lot, we were told. People are very surprised we have regular moose encounters as well as mountain panthers. Yeah, the panther knows you're there before you see him. That's disturbing. That's disturbing. But, you know, I have no interest. I have zero interest in going back to Utah. Wait till I finish the sentence. Utah or Colorado or Banff. The three places I've been to where I've seen snow. And all three of them are beautiful. And I do want to go back to all three of them. But I have zero interest in going to them in the summertime. I have enough summer here. I don't need to see this over there. Oh, it's different. I understand. You know. Plus, you know, you guys have bears and shit running around. And I can't fly with a rifle that I don't have. I'm not going to be a statistic. I guess it's probably. Can you go somewhere and lend you a rifle? No, I got no interest in going to those places when it's hot. When it's warm. I live in a warm place. That's not a wonderland. But I'll tell you what, after going to Colorado, and I've only had one experience in Utah, one experience in Colorado, one trip, not one experience, but one, you know, a week in each place, and 1 week in Banff. And here's the difference. Everybody in Canada was happy. People in Utah, and I mean, you know, the people that are tourists, I don't mean you local, you seem like a happy guy, and I don't mean that in another way, but I'm just, you know, there were some embittered people that we encountered. You know, when you're paying that kind of a money to go skiing, and we're not skiers, we just want to do the other snow stuff. You're spending a lot of money to do that. It is just, you gotta have some expectations of how, and I just think the trip just didn't meet those people's expectations. And it wasn't anybody we were traveling with, it was just other people that were there already. I could tell a really big difference between the nuns, and we were in the town. We weren't necessarily in the, you know, we weren't in, what's that place that's up there in the Deer we weren't in Deer, we did have a meal in Deer Valley. We didn't stay in Deer Valley, but we did go up there. So it wasn't some super hoity-toity place where it's like, that's just how the Normans are. That's just how the Normans are. They're all embittered and stuff. No, it didn't have to do with that. It was just, you're just forking out a hell of a lot of money for slope fee and this fee and ski rentals and this thing and the other thing. And it's like, man, where does it end? Okay, so we're getting a little bit better. We got a ways to go. And I might as well do the same thing with the other one. Yeah, I really don't want to have an encounter with a panther. A puma. Mountain lion. Cougar. Big kitty cat. All right. Where'd my pavement color go? So I'm probably going to take the same pavement color and lighten it up. Looks like Utah's on track for getting another Winter Olympics coming here. Well, that's good because you have all that infrastructure. It's already built. It'd be silly to just have used it one time, you know? That just seems wasteful. Although imagine having all those, I mean, you want the tourism, you just don't want all the chaos that it brings. I'm pretty sure Florida's not due to have a Winter Olympics anytime soon. I used to watch the Olympics all the time in the 80s. The coverage was better. They showed all the events, even if an American wasn't in it. They would show all the events. And it was kind of like, with the Cold War going on, it was like the big competition. Have they had an Olympics? I know this is a rhetorical question. I'm sure they have. But and I started thinking about it. Have they had an Olympics since Russia invaded Ukraine? And are those people like really shunned? Is there anybody you don't want to see win at the Olympic Games just so you don't have to listen to their anthem? And no, I'm not talking about the American one. I'm just saying, is there an anthem that's just horrible? Like, oh, please don't let these people from Absurdistan win because their anthem is horrible. And are we the only country that has dumbasses that are offended by the national anthem? Like, just stand. You don't have to sing it. Just stand. Just show some freaking respect. And I don't even have anybody in my family that's been in the, well, I'm married into it, but that was in the service. Like just common decency. Like, be glad you didn't die for the country. I think Russia got banned for doping before that, so there's been competing under a neutral banner for years now. They should just have Olympics for all the dopes. Like, do as many drugs as you want, but you got to do them this. The Dope Olympics. See who really is the fastest man. And if your heart explodes, let it happen after you're done with the race. How fast will those little legs go? They're actually doing that. Oh, having a dope Olympics? Are we the only country that has dumbasses that are embarrassed of the national anthem? Hey, you can not like what's going on in the United States. You may not like who's at the helm, but it's the idea of what the United States maybe could be. Let's put it that way. And that's the way I look at it. That's why I have a flag on my house, not because I agree with everything that this country's did. But there's some weird incongruencies here in this country. There's some weird incongruencies. Like, these people have a war with somebody, with a group of folks, and then make some kind of treaty, and then renege on the treaty, ship them away, and then feel bad about them, so they name everything towns after the people that are no longer here, and the only ones that can pronounce it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, pick a side, Either be nice to the people or, I'm against people breaking their word on stuff. That's just not cool, I mean, if you plan on breaking your word, just don't even make a deal with people, There's something I heard in the last couple days on, and we're just going to add white to this pavement. I'm reading Killing of the Rising Sun right now. And something came up. What was it? Oh, it was either Iwo Jima or Okinawa. I don't remember which one it was, but there was kamikaze attacks. And the kamikaze attacks, I mean, I knew that they weren't super successful, but the kamikazes actually killed more people than the damage they suffered. And you're thinking, oh, well, of course, there's only one person in the plane, and if they crash into a cruiser, they could kill 13 people. So, one plane with one person killing 13. Yeah, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised that, I mean, it was like 2,000 kamikazes dead to 5,000 or 6,000 sailors. I was really surprised. But then, I don't, I'm not an expert on the Pacific War. Just like today, I read that the survival rate on submarines wasn't great. And it said something like this: your chances of surviving being a German submariner was 80%, and your chances of being a Japanese one was actually better. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. But maybe they just didn't go in places. The Japanese used their generally used their submarines for fleet spotting, or at least at the beginning of the war they did. So maybe they just weren't putting them in such thick situations, or they had Japanese had a much larger surface fleet than the Germans. I mean, much larger one. I mean, they had the third biggest navy of World War II, right? The U.S. and Britain were, I think Britain was 1 and U.S. was 2, and during the course of the war they flipped. But Japan was number 3. I mean, they had a blue water navy, a hell of a blue water navy. So I guess, the odds are the Japanese would have some surface ships that go out with them. So you can spot for a fleet if you have a fleet. Germany didn't have a big fleet, and they disabled a third of it just in Norway. Just taking Norway, they disabled a third of their fleet. They lost like 10 destroyers or something like that, 2 light cruisers, a heavy cruiser. Oops. Now this is where we're going to have to do a little bit and then compare it. So let's do this and then compare it. Okay? I wasn't expecting it to be this blue. That's the pavement. This is the other road. All right, this is where thinking outside the box is going to help. So I have to do the other road piece the same way. And then we're going to start, instead of adding white, we're going to add a buff color. We're going to add like the sandstone or something. So we can warm it up a little bit. Because this is what it would look like if it was clean. But you're going to have dirt and stuff that's going to go on there. It's going to brown it out some. I lose everybody? But I'm actually enjoying reading stuff about the Pacific because I'm fairly ignorant about it. Maybe I shouldn't say that. For a war gamer, I'm pretty ignorant about the Pacific War. There's huge swaths of it that just don't interest me. It hasn't interested me in the past because I wasn't going to game it. So. All right, let's see what happens when I take the lightest one I have. That's the lightest brown base beige. Okay. Brown base beige. They're all brown. base beige. So instead of white, we're going to use this color. Now let's see what happens here. I'll take some of the pavement, add a little bit of that instead of the white, and see if this warms it up a little bit. Not really. We need to use more than that. You've been in Virginia for 2 weeks. Well, what if you, and now you're back in New York. How did it feel like to say goodbye to America? New York is weird, man. I don't mind going there again, but I wouldn't want to live there. I wouldn't want to live there. And we had a good time in New York, but I wouldn't want to live there. Now let's see what this looks like. Let's not bring any of that with us. New York is not the United States the same way that Paris is in France. People are always down on the French, and I'm not trying to defend the French. I'm just trying to be fair. I wouldn't want somebody, thinking that. I've never been on one of those Normandy tours or anything like that, but almost consistently, what everybody tells me is that the French in Normandy are very thankful. And, I don't need to be, I don't need you to celebrate me just because I was born in the United States. Because, hell, my ancestors didn't even take part in your liberation. We weren't here yet. Okay? But, you don't need to be a dick, But I've never done one of those things. But consistently what I hear is that, that's not the people that you think, oh, well, the French are this way or the other. There's decent people everywhere. There's decent people almost everywhere. So I would not want to be judged as, I was on this 4th of July thing that just came up. There's all these posts by you folks across the pond saying Americans this and Americans that, and that's fine. I don't get offended by it because I'm not a typical American. I don't all of a sudden have to be, defensive about every single person in this country. There's lots of assholes here, okay? As a matter of fact, we don't need to go to another country to find people that we don't like. They're already here. And they're natives, So that's got nothing to do with it. So I'm not one of these people, well, this, that, and, that. Hey, everybody's different. But I'm just telling you, I would not want to be put in the same box as somebody who's from New York City. And I don't mean Marcus. I mean, people that are really from New York City. Some asshole from the Bronx. Or how they call them in the Bronx, just a normal person. I think I know one person from the Bronx. And they're actually all right. But they got a hard candy shell. And there ain't a whole lot of sugar there. You know what I'm saying? You got to be tough if you live in one of those places or they'll eat you alive. All right, now let's see if I can imagine. This is where you got to use your Mr. Rogers imagination. You got to pretend there's another sidewalk over here. And another building. Well, this isn't the footprint for this. This is just a leftover. How about we grab the one that actually goes with the building? Now, let me take off my glasses and see if I can visualize. I think it needs to be a little lighter. A little lighter. And why am I doing Blacktop? Well, I looked at the pictures of that town, that town that was destroyed by SS motherfuckers. I'm sorry, I meant to cuss. I don't have a problem with reprisals, but you just need to reprise the right people. I know what you mean. There are a lot of people from New York, from other countries, but certain places like the Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, like another country. And they talk funny. Never been to Staten Island. I don't think I've been to Brooklyn. Now, we drove through it from LaGuardia. From LaGuardia. I remember when I was a kid. You're within 1 year of my age, and we're watching Sesame Street, right? Or Electric Company. Both of those are New York shows, like New York City shows. And you go on there, and those little kids talk funny. I remember being a little kid, it's like, these kids talk funny. Two Utes. Staten Island has a lot of Italians. Mamma mia. I remember my first trip to New York, I've only been twice, was when I went down and saved my wife from the Northeast. That would have been 2000 and it was after 9/11. Was it? No, it was before 9/11. It was before 9/11. We go to Chinatown. No, we go to Little Italy, and there ain't a single Italian in Little Italy. Not one. It's all Puerto Ricans, which is fine, but you better change the name of the freaking place, you know? Need to name it like Boricua Land or something, you know? Instead of Little Italy, Little Ponce or something, you know? Said, oh, what happened to the Italians? Oh, they all are in Hoboken. Okay. Well. I should have taken a picture of these guys because I go to this restaurant that was wrecked. When we went to New York City recently. Like, hey, we want a good Italian restaurant to go to for a recommendation. So my wife knew somebody who recommended us a restaurant, and we've all had good Italian food. Okay, we've all had good Italian food, and that wasn't good Italian food. And everybody that worked there, I'm like, that's some funny looking Italians. Like, they look like my wife's like, no, that's what Italians look like. I said, those guys look like the guys we just saw in Oaxaca. I'm just telling you, you know. So I should have taken a picture. I'm like, is this what Italians look like? I mean, I look more Italian than those guys. Maybe I have this idea of what people look like, and they're not really that way. Anyhow, I think this is about where we want to be for the time being. So let's bring this up to this, and then we'll go and continue on the sidewalk. Italian food's hard to do right because we've all, even people in Britain, have all had good Italian food. Or Italian food you really enjoyed, okay? So, you know, you got something to measure up against. The best Italian food I've ever eaten that I can think of right now, we decided to try this hole-in-the-wall place. And to say that it's in a town would be an insult to towns. It is a whistle, like this little whistle stop. It looked like a a freaking trailer. It looked like 2 or 3 trailers that was put together to make like a business. Out in the country, out on US 441, about 30 miles south of here, in the middle of nowhere, just north of a little town called McIntosh. And if it sounds like a podunk place, it's because it is. On the outskirts of this town that's on the outskirts of nothing. And this guy has this Italian restaurant named Antonio's. And apparently this guy is right off the boat. Northern Italian dude. I met the owner. And we went with some other people that appreciated Italian food. Didn't know what we were going to expect, but it had really good ratings. Like, 500 or 600 ratings can't be wrong. When it's got like a 4.8 and there's that many people saying about it, I'm like, there's got to be some truth to it. So we go there. I didn't know what to order. So I decided to order something that I think was a special and this is so good. I don't dare order. I've been back like 3 more times. It's an expensive place, which is okay as long as it's good, and you get lots of food, and it is so good. I don't dare order anything else because when you order something else, you forego having this item that's so excellent, and this was this gnocchi with chicken. It's just incredible, just with like a balsamic glaze. It's just fantabulous. Fan-frickin-tabulous. One of the best things I've ever eaten in my life. So, you go have Italian food, you got to compete with that, Olive Garden ain't going to cut it. Olive Garden didn't cut it in the 90s. I honestly don't know how they're in business. There's several chain restaurants that are still around. I don't know how the hell they survive. But ever since COVID, we go to chain restaurants less and less and less and less and less. It used to be like, well, you go to a chain restaurant because at least they have some you have to perform to a certain level. But now it's like, nobody there gives a shit. They're just there for a paycheck. Not everywhere, but, more and more. I've noticed that's the case, so we're basically, if we go out to eat, which is kind of rare now, we'll go to mom and pop places. Because honestly, they're better. But ever since COVID, it was like an excuse for people to do a shitty job and not be fired. Let's see how we're looking here. I think we still need to go up a little bit more on this. I don't know. Maybe that's the same experience for you guys too. Maybe I'm just in an anomaly. But when things jumped up 25% in cost or more, I expect them to be at least as good as they were before. Why would things cost more and you get less value? What are you, Games Workshop? Come on, man. Games Workshop did that. They reduced their paints got 25% or 33% smaller, and they went up in price 33%. Like, what the hell? Same experience? Yeah, people just don't give a shit, And they don't get fired for it. I'm not saying you should fire everybody, but, I think that you need to have a little bit of fear for losing your job to perform well. I don't mean you need to work for somebody who's like a tyrant. I'm just saying that, you can't sit around and surf on your phone all fucking day long. And that's what it is. I don't actually mind going to a store and people are on their phones surfing or whatever. But if you need help, they need to help you. But, the best, I get it. You're in a dead-end job. It's no fun. But the best way to get through your dead-end job is to freaking hustle and make your day go by quick. So it doesn't feel like, an 8-hour shift doesn't feel like it's 16 hours long. Mr. Jared, the Heinemann. They had a German destroyer called the Heinemann. I think it might have sunk at Narvik, though. I think you also got... Also, you go to a chain because you know what to expect. No matter where you go, X dish always tastes and looks approximately like X dish. It's like for inertia. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's kind of... There's some things where, they can't screw this up or. Yeah, those that just isn't the case anymore. But at least I've never come away from a chain and thought that was great. I have had meals at chains that were really good, but it's been a long time. There used to be this Italian chain called Carrabba's here in the United States, and they used to have this steak that was sirloin marsala, and it was incredible. It really was incredible. It was flavorful. It had a lot of depth. It had like a symphony of flavor. It had a lot of stuff going on, like depth, and I'm telling you, this fucker can eat, in case you can't tell. And I appreciate, there's only one thing worse than bland food, and that's food that tastes bad. So yeah, you don't want to eat something that's bland, that has no flavor. So this is what the sidewalk looks next to this. I'm still not 100% convinced. I almost want to go up one level, and I think I'm going to. Just a smidge more. What else? Prior to COVID, I've gone to chain restaurants and thought, man, that was great, more often than I would do it at a mom and pop place. I don't know. It just, something changed. Something totally changed. Veal marsala. Well, if there's a veal shortage, I won't be eating any of it. I just don't care for the taste. That's good. That's non-competing. That's like, that's a non-competing agreement without us having to sign one. There used to be this mom and pop's place, had this little Italian place called Pio's something or another. And on a whim, I tried it there at lunchtime. Some weird that we decided to go there for lunch one time, back when we used to take lunch together at work. And not that I really missed that, but we went to this place and I had tortellini. It was tortellini. I don't remember what the tortellini was filled with. Something. Maybe ham. And it had peas in it. And it was in a bolognese sauce. And it was phenomenally incredible. And the place went out of business. It's really hard to run a restaurant, We had, you could do a good job and you could just get like complaints and not survive, or not get enough people, or you'll see these tiny little towns that have a restaurant in them. Like, how can this restaurant not do well? Like, it's the only thing in town. But I guess there's a certain amount of business that you need to have to go through the door to pay the bills. And if your town just isn't big enough to have it, you're not going to pay your bills. There was this sandwich shop in town, in the old town, in the bigger town that I used to live in. They had all these recommendations like, man, this place is a really good sandwich place. You should try it out. So we went there one time, the wife and I. And the problem is that this guy had a Facebook page. I think it was a Facebook page about his thing. And people would go on there and rip his restaurant. And the owner would come back and rip right back at him. Like, like really bad. So if you said something bad, the owner would just go to town on him. That place didn't survive. I didn't think it was that good, but People are really particular about their sandwiches and pizza. That's starting to look more like it. That's starting to look more like it. And we can change our mind and add some more colors. But that's how that's how it's gonna go, one side or the other. Okay? So we're gonna sit these two black tops by the side, whew, this calls for a drink. A drink of coffee. I think this is one of the few evenings it's not been raining at this time. Because I'm like, man, it's 8 o'clock and it's pretty bright out there. But that's because it's not storming. So, yesterday we did the edging in black on this. I'm not sure how much more of this I want to do. I feel like I need to keep painting it so that the color is more solid on it. But I don't know. I may be beating a dead horse, and it's kind of like almost not worth it. I really almost should do the other side of the street. But the question is, am I happy with the sidewalk? I think I'm happy enough with the sidewalk that I'm willing to go across the street and put it on both sides of this just to see what it looks like. We've got our bricks that have dried. Okay. They're darker. Let's see what they look like on the sidewalk. They look a lot better than before. I think I'm going to stain the whole lot of them. I think we're going to stain a whole lot of them. We're not going to get sidetracked on that now, but I think that that's what's... I'm going to make them darker. Okay, so we're going to sit the grocery store. That's what this epicery. Hold on, I got to go get some bananas at the epicery. Do you need to mark in individual divisions for the ground floor, or will you keep a multi-level floor plan off table? So these hobbles ones are interesting in that if this was a normal floor plan, the floor would already be built into this bottom floor. It's not, okay? So you got a situation where you've got, say you got a couple characters here that are in this building, okay? We need a kraut. There is my kraut. I have at least one that is painted. I've got many painted. I just mean one that's painted with the, that looks decent with the grass and stuff. Let's see. Here they are. I think they're in here anyways. This guy. One's good enough. Oh, we got like 3. Yeah, this is what I need. I really need to do this. All right. They don't have any grass on them yet. Okay. Who do we have here? We have Rifleman Langer, Alderman, and Hirsch. Is Hirsch a NCO? No, he's not NCO. He just happens to have an MP40. So these two bad guys come in here and say they want to storm in and engage in close combat. These two guys, these two people, because one of them's actually a lady. Looks like a lady and is a lady. We didn't have those problems back then. and storms in here and wants to engage. You lift this thing up so that you can do that inside. Okay, and then you'll close it back down, set them off to the side. If they somehow get onto the second floor, the floor is actually there. So we could just have the combat it happen here. Okay? The only catch is going to be, we have a staircase here. What if you're halfway up the staircase? Well, we'll have to make some kind of a notation about that. Okay? But we're going to have ways of getting in between all these individual pieces. So I may have to fabricate a little ladder or something like this so you can get up to the top floor here, because you got a nice little nest here for a sniper, a MG34 or something like that up there. But that's really what the purpose is that there needs to be some markings, and this floor plan matches what the inside what the inside of this building is. Okay? So I think rooms are a hell of a lot more subdivided now than they used to be. So, I don't think I really need to turn this into something else, but that's at least what the plan is. So if this had been a normal 3D printed building like they do now, they'll come with the bottom section. You would just stack them out, and then you could move them off to the side. So, all right. So we're going to move the grocery store over here, and across the street from the grocery store, let's do one of the ones that we already have a base for. Wow, this is a big one. What other one do I have? What's this, the other building? Yeah, let's do the original building, which is the row house here. That way we can see what the street scene looks like with sidewalks on both sides of it. And this has already been, I think it's already been painted with, yeah, it's already been painted with sanding sealer. All right, so let's move the grocery store the hell out of the way. Actually, I'm going to keep this just for color reference. So I'd like some consistency. Consistency makes me happy. All right, and this one we did not mark where it is, so we're going to do that with this. Take our pencil. And make sure we leave some sidewalk. And the sidewalk's going to be fatter here. I'm not going to zig it in to match, the same distance away from the wall. That's good enough. It can be wider there. Not that big of a deal. And the walls in this building aren't necessarily straight either. Now we can lose this floor. I'd much rather do this shit as I'm doing it now, figuring stuff out as we go. It's kind of like season 1 of Stranger Things. We're all figuring shit out as it happens. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and flip this. And we have an opening there. Wall here. entrance to the doors there. Calls for a drink. 5 people on. Excellent. Thanks for stopping by, folks. It's literally the best thing you guys could do. This window goes even with here, so we have a window that goes like from here to here. And then we have a window that goes from here to here. And we have another one that goes from here to here. And another one that goes from here to here. And another one that goes here to here. Lots of windows, man. You're not sneaking up on this place. You're going to take some suppressive fire. Okay, that's the openings. And I'm going to go ahead and just for clarity, we're going to put some X's on them. We will delineate them differently. And then I think what I did was, I want to say I went over them with a marker. So then what I did after that was I painted the whole thing light gray. So I'd still be able to see where everything was. And I think all of that worked out all right. Okay. So we're just going to move this row house off to the side. Happy little floor right here. And let's grab a permanent marker. I have one of them that's thicker. I know that, not the really thick one, but one that's, nah. Oh, hold on, is this one of them? That's what I was talking about. Hopefully it doesn't die on me. Yep. Ooh, we almost got a leak. These are old as shit. And there's no point in using a ruler and making this super straight because the inside of the wall isn't super straight. There's no window there? Really? Yeah, there is. I forgot to put it on there. Now, any new buildings I'm going to get are probably not going to be this style. Okay, they don't really make this kind. Well, they might. They might. Century models or something like that might make them, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the buildings I'm going to get, when I get buildings, are all going to be, oh, nope, there's a little landing there, are all going to be 3D printed. I just wish every single 3D printer that I was interested in didn't come from Britain. And it's only because of the shipping costs. I'll be right back. I can go to the little boy's room. So this one person that I know asked me a question the other day about something about the rule set that I plan on using. And it's not really something I thought about. Because I'm focused mainly on the figures. But just kind of put everything into perspective from those of you guys that know. So the meat and potatoes of this rule set is the action system. And if you're talking about average quality soldiers, your run-of-the-mill soldiers, not talking about super conscripts or special forces types. Every turn you get 2 actions. Understand this wall's thicker than the other one, but that's how it is. I decided to make that one thicker. And the maximum a person can move is 5 inches. So an average soldier, maximum each turn is going to move 10 inches on foot. You know, remember, they're this tall. They're going to move 10 inches, which incidentally is the length of the roadways. Okay, this is a 10-inch roadway. So they're going to, if they start here, they're going to be able to move all the way. If they take both their actions moving straight ahead, they're going to be able to go all the way there. A vehicle has 10 action. Each side has 10 action sequences. All right, Skylab, thanks for coming by, man. Don't be a stranger. Each vehicle has 10 movement. Each side has 10 movement impulses, during which speed you can move. Depends on the vehicle. You can move like 7 inches or something for each one. Oh, I have a visitor. Hold on one second. All right. That was my daughter who wanted to make a movie date. Hey, can we finish watching that episode of The Pacific? Yeah, we got like 2 episodes of Pacific or something like that to do to knock that thing out. Anyhow, so we're gonna stop at 9 o'clock. So we got another 37 minutes or something like that. But who's counting? Well, I am. Anyhow, so there's 10 vehicle impulse moves per turn. And some vehicles, I think, can go up to 7 inches per turn. So the vehicles can really book. But if you get a vehicle going too fast, when one of those impulse moves come up, all the vehicles move whatever speed they're at. They got there's like a little sheet that you can put little counters that tells you how fast a vehicle's moving, if they're crew exposed, whatever. If the ammo's loaded in there, there's like little slots for the things to go in. So you don't want to get going really fast, or you're going to overshoot things. Like you're going to try to make a turn and you can't because you're going too fast. So I think most vehicles are going to be going 1, 2, 3. I don't know if anybody's even going 4. That's pretty darn fast. But that's how you run over somebody. Like you got figures in the open, and a vehicle can come over. They can get 2 movement impulses. And next thing you know, the figure can't get out of the way. They get overrun that way. Interesting stuff could happen. That's what we're here for. We're here for the interesting stuff. But it kind of put into perspective the game play or the game scale of the game within the framework of the size of the board and stuff like that. And I don't really think about it. But I'm pretty sure one of the things the game doesn't have, and it should have, and it's relatively easy to do, especially at the rate that I'm going, we're taking this really slow. Now, the next scenario I do after this one, I'll have a lot less things to build for it because I'll be able to use the road. We'll be able to use the trees that we've created. We're not creating everything from scratch. Okay, so the next scenario will be a lot less involved because you should be able to build everything. We should be able to build on the stuff from the previous scenario. But this first one's completely from scratch. You know, like these roads that I have, you can't really hide behind a berm or anything. You do something like Market Garden and you got one of those raised roads or something like that. Yeah, we're not going to use 2mm. We're going to use 3 or higher, you know. But we're going to do this one scenario just to see if I'm able to achieve that look that you people across the pond can have in your games or in your game magazines. Maybe nobody across the pond has games that look like that. They're all just, they're just photo ops for, these games. But there's games being played across the pond that look that good. It sure seems like that. So that's what our goal is going to be, is to get a game that looks that good. Am I either going to be able to do it? I'm going to be happy with the results, or I'm not. And so far, I've been pretty happy with how things turned out. Okay, so here's the floor plan, and yes, this wall is all cattywampus like that. Fubard. I really don't need to paint the interior, but I feel like I should, just to make it look reasonable. And one thing I could have been really anal retentive is I could have sanded like the top of this, so you got a curve that's sloped, but hey, you're just taking things too far. If I change my mind later and I don't like how it looks, I can come back and do that. But for the time being, this should suffice. All right, so we're going to take this, now that we've got our floor plan on here, which should match this. And it doesn't have to be exact, because when you paint it, you're going to tinker with it a little bit. Pretty good. Is we're going to go ahead and coat this in, I believe this is the color that I used. I should have used the pavement color. Or I should have used this one. Maybe I did use that one. What's this one called? Pewter gray. I believe it was pewter gray. We covered everything in pewter gray. We didn't use this one at all. That one's a little bit too much blue in it. We cover everything in pewter gray. All right, this has already been sealed, both sides. So we're going to paint the underside in pewter gray, but we don't want to paint it on here. We want to put it somewhere that we're not going to get this stuff everywhere. And I'm just going to put it directly on here. That brush is unreasonably sized. That is a brush of an overcompensating size. The 12. Royal and Langnickel. Also almost sounds like a cut down. You stupid Langnickel. Sounds like a cheap ass coin. Ersatz nickel. Lang nickel. Long nickel. You stupid long nickel. And we've already, like I said, we've already sealed this. So I should cut down on the warping. It makes, I don't know if I needed to seal it. I feel like I do, because otherwise it could just keep sucking and sucking and sucking the life out of this paint. As it is, this paint doesn't cover great. Of course, this is a, what is this one? Americana apple barrel. Yeah, it's not the other one. It's not folk art. The folk art one covers better. Even though they're both made by Plaid, a company called Plaid. And then we're going to go over this. This is where we don't really care if this gets covered too much. If it doesn't cover that well. As long as we see the lines of the building through it, which would be pretty hard not to. This is the only part I wish I didn't get paint all over my hands. Then I got to stop and take it off before it ends up getting on something I don't want it to. And specifically something maybe that I've painted. This is the only thing of everything that I've done building-wise that I'm not 100% happy with, because I feel like I got to do a lot of going over it compared to anything else that I did along the way. I may actually have to stop and let this dry because this is rather wet. Now, this should lay damn near flat. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to stop for this. Let this permeate there. I may come back in the morning and give it another coat. And then we'll lighten it up with some white. Go over the edges and then paint the painting the cracks with a Nuln Oil actually worked pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So that way we can have both sides of the blacktop painted and just see exactly how it's looking. But anyways, thanks for stopping by, folks. I appreciate you guys coming.